Barry has dropped in P5X and has a ton in her arsenal, making her one of the best single target DPSs currently out in the game. But as all of you guys do know, all units have to be built a certain way, especially correctly, to make the most out of them. So in today's video, you'll not only understand how Barry as a unit does work, but also how to get the best results with her. My name is Bladecifer, and let's get straight into the video. Getting straight into it, our Gothic Queen Barry is a single target curse DPS that allows you to decimate mobs in front of you with ease. She's probably one of the most generalistic characters that's pretty good for farming, and she does this by utilizing her DOT mechanic Lovesick. This pretty much allows her to just make her DOT crit, which is one of the few DOTs that's able to do this. For some people who don't know exactly what that is, it's damage over time, which is what her Lovesick stacks are based off of. But this all starts with her best weapon, being the 5-star weapon My Destiny. My Destiny itself applies crit rate stats as well as crit damage stats, both that are really high valued. Crit rate itself is going to be increased by 18.1% alongside of her crit damage getting a buffed amount of 32.8% by getting this weapon. To get the most out of the weapon as well, you're going to want to make sure you're getting duplicates if you're on the higher investment side of things, which this weapon makes itself very noticeable that it is insanely strong. I'd advise a lot of people to go ahead and invest into it if you do want the best of the best for your Barry, though of course that's just mainly my advice. When it comes down to the other weapon you could use, she does have her 4-star weapon, which is Bloody Love Letter. Now, Bloody Love Letter itself is a pretty decent 4-star weapon, but it is missing out on a couple things such as crit rate and the crit damage that you do get from the 5-star weapon. Still, if you think about it, you are able to get a little bit of a damage boost and a decent attack bonus, though you will have to use a highlight in order to do so. Every time you do so, you're going to be able to, of course, get that lovely damage bonus that's going to help you out with killing different enemies, so just keep that in mind as well. Though the main issue is that crit rate and crit damage will be missing, so you will need to account for this with your leftover artifacts, so make sure you have that written on down. But with this all out of the way, we're going to go ahead and check out her gear. Jumping straight into the next part being her gear set, Barry still hasn't changed much over the year, and you can easily see this with starting with her card set. Her card set is going to be Perseverance and Sorrow. This will allow her to increase her DOT effect by 16%, while in tandem proccing her 12% extra attack and increasing her damage for 3 turns by 20%. This is a pretty good card set and it's very noticeable that you can easily get some nice damage off of it, but the cool thing is you're able to refresh the set effect by using her highlight. Now you're going to find yourself using this quite a lot, seeing it is her main deal for proccing some of the DOT refreshes, as well as you're just going to end up using Cord in her team, so you're going to have your highlight quite a lot too. Once you get used to this card set and get the accurate main stats as well as substats, you'll see some very impressive numbers that's going to leave you kind of speechless. But speaking of the main stats, you'd like to have damage multi from the Moon card, crit damage for your Star card, and attack percent for the Sky card. The Moon could possibly use the attack percent as well as its main stat, but it does depend on what you're lacking more. Usually I'm not lacking too much on the attack percent side, so I usually go for the damage bonus for the extra payoff in some of the damage. But granted, everybody is not the same on this, so be sure to check your stats to make sure you're ready to either swap to a damage multi card or either using the attack percent card. Going in priority from left to right, substat wise, I advise you to build crit damage as well as attack percent. The main reason that I'm actually talking about this is because normally we're going to be using a damage multi main card, though of course if this is changeable for you, you do want to go ahead and use more damage multi substats than anything. But alongside that, make sure you're getting yourself some crit rates because she does want to crit on her DOT said effects, so that's always great to have on her. Those are the main 3 substat priorities, and if you want a 4th to go ahead and invest in, getting more damage bonus is also a good thing, or attack percent, once again applying to your card set, and then lastly getting Pierce is pretty darn decent too. Now she doesn't take full advantage of the Pierce stack, seeing that her debuff is mainly defense shredding, so there's nothing to really pierce through, but at the same time Pierce can still help you out a little bit if you want some extra damage throughout your whole set. It's always available anyways, and of course it is decently scaled, so by getting a little bit of Pierce, it's not going to hurt you too much. Doing your card set like this will allow you to get the best results for Barry, though as per usual with our DPS units, it can be fairly hard to get perfect substats. So take your time with slowly getting these stats and just get your Barry on ready. But now that we went over this, we're going to go ahead and check out her awarenesses. For awarenesses, as usual, you guys know I don't usually recommend too many awarenesses for this, so we're going to go over her low investment awareness. This is just going to start with the A0, and this is complete with the entire unit. You don't really have to go any further than this, seeing that it allows Barry to gain her Chains of Love stacks whenever she's using her first skill for the first time. This is also then repeated whenever you are using your highlights or some of your other skills, which allow you to stack up to 3 more times of this said debuff. By getting Chains of Love stacks, you're able to not only be stronger, but have these boosted effects. The first stack is increasing your enemy's damage taken by 4%. The second stack is increasing your critical rate by 15%. And the third stack is allowing you to increase your DOT effect by 25%. Pretty darn neat A0 for itself, and it gets everything that you need done, though as usual it does take you a little bit more time, and as well you don't do as much damage, seeing that you don't have as high of stacks compared to the A1 and A2. Now to A1, this is probably the best stopping point in my opinion, mainly because it is decreasing the foe's defense by an extra 3% for every Love 6 stack. Any further, I feel like it isn't worth going for unless you're doing like SOS or Guild Boss, but with that in mind, a lot of people really don't care about the rankings that much, so I think A1 is more than enough. Though of course if you are one of the SOS and Guild Boss junkies, then you might want to go ahead and look at her A2. Her A2 allows her to start with a couple Chains of Love stacks, and this increases also the max amount of stacks she's able to have, now to 5 stacks. By doing so, at 4 stacks, you get yourself a 36% increase of crit damage, and at 5 stacks, if Barry takes a final damage hit, or at least a fatal piece of damage, she gains 4 Power of Love stacks. Power of Love is potentially allowing her to go ahead and spend the stacks that she has, and she uses them after each ally's action, pretty much getting more mileage out of her entire kit before the character ends up fainting. Anything higher than A2, I'm pretty positive you know what you're doing, so I'm not really gonna go ahead and talk about those too much, so we're gonna go ahead and move on. Moving further along, Barry isn't the hardest unit to recognize some of her best teams, though luckily I'm going to make it a little bit easier for a lot of you guys as well. Barry's best team is going to be with Beachflower Marion, Cord, Wonder using Vasuki, and Miku. Breaking out how the team essentially works, Wonder is going to be acting as a primary debuffer, using Vasuki to amplify Barry's DOT effects, as well as using its highlight to increase damage taken on the enemy. You also will use Wonder in this point as a buffer by using Dionysus, who can help you out with only attack percentages, crit rate, and crit damage aspects, which is very good to use. Beachflower Marion will end up using not only her crit damage buffs to assist you, but also her DOT related buffs. This is going to be based on a specific medicine in her pouch, which will allow her to increase the DOT effect with it as well. Cord acts as the highlight battery of the team, with Miku still promoting Barry to deal more damage during her ghost roll moments. Taking advantage of this full-on timing, seeing that she is a 2-turn DPS, she's going to be allowed to be extended on some of her damage markers, making sure that Barry will be able to spam her skill 3 even more so later down the line. Granted, if you do not have these units, there's a few different choices you can use and or make, which I'll have on the screen as well. I'll have a 60-second build guide out later on regarding this fact, so look forward to it. Though now we're going to get into more of the rotation side of things. She is essentially a 2-turn DPS, but can look like a 3-turn to most people. This is based on the fact of how you have to actually use her highlight in order to reset her DOT stacks, which some people don't always count as more of a damage dealing moment. But by going ahead and applying said stacks on the enemy, you're going to end up using your highlight, which is going to end up resetting said stacks and dealing a decent bit of damage to the enemy. Now, another factor that makes her seem like a 3-turn DPS is her strongest skill, being the skill 3. After a bit of setup, you're able to then go ahead and spam this for a while, and your rotation is going to look something like this. You're going to end up using your skill 1 on your first turn, then your highlight in skill 2 on turn 2, later on following up with skill 2 on turn 3, and to max out the rest of your damage, be able to spend said skill 3 stacks to deal a ton of damage. If you're able to unleash this skill in a way that you want to do so, you'll be able to get out the maximum damage output that you do need. Now, the rotation will also be on the screen as well if you're looking for an example, so be sure to look at that too. Now, her rotation does change if you are at a higher awareness amount, so I will have a basic explanation or at least a screenshot of the rotation on top of the screen as well. Now, if you want a basic explanation of how you want to use MIKU with her or why you want to use MIKU with her, it's because it does allow you to set up her best skill, which is the skill 3, and spam it for 2 extra more turns. This will deal the highest damage that you want to for her burst damage properties, and MIKU is going to also get you the debuff extensions that you do need to deal a lot more damage than you think you can. Now, Cord herself is going to allow you to feel the highlights as per usual, while Esmerian is still buffing you immensely. Wonder is always going to be debuffing or at least adapting to the situation, so it's not too hard to really grasp too much around. But what more could Barry really want, especially if her team is this well rounded? With this out the way, we're going to go ahead and go into the persona section. Lastly, checking out some of the personas here, you guys, we're going to look at Vasuki first. Vasuki is one of the best personas to use for Barry, and the main reason for this is because it does increase the damage over time effect. Now, this is just in its regular talent aspect, which is very, very helpful, and this can go up to an amount of 15% when it does come down to the increased continuous damage it's able to perform. Alongside of this here, it is able to increase the damage taken by 19.6% if you go ahead and get this higher for the highlight, so it is a pretty decent unit to go ahead and use as a persona. But besides Vasuki, I would advise you guys to also look into a couple different other ones, such as Dionysus. Seeing Dionysus itself is going to allow you to get up your critical rate as well as your critical damage as you go through a lot of different content. You can also rely on its highlight, being that it does increase the party's damage by 29.5% for 2 whole turns. Dionysus himself also can be a very good use for either using Terrakaja on it, or if you really needed to be down bad and need to use a debuff, you could very well adapt it using a debuff as well, though this is more for SOS and guild boss strats, so there's no real need to use that at all. Then going to the third persona I would personally use is going to be Yanosek, and the main reason for this is because you're able to get a decent debuff off if you just use its skill 1, which if the enemy is now marked, they're getting a decreased defense by 29.6%, which can be very much so fatal whenever they are dealing with Barry. Luckily for this, the marked defense down itself is also amplified a little bit more with at least its passive, so it is always good to use Yanosek for at least one of these single target characters. I advise a lot of you guys to invest into it if you haven't done so already, and these are my 3 personas I would personally end up using for Barry. But with that on out the way, hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. It took me a little bit of time, as you guys can hear. I was doing this through the night a little bit, and I am a little tired, so I do apologize if I ended up repeating some of my words. I was trying to get back on track with my script on the right here, but there are some times where you can't always do everything perfectly. But let me know how you feel about her, and if you got her built, or if you're ready to go ahead and share, tell me how it does down below in the comment section. Till then, everybody, stay safe, stay sharp, and have a nice one. Peace out.